Welcome back to Coffee with Yvonne, a show for creatives and entrepreneurs. I'm Yvonne Pearson, your host, and darling, the founder of Pink Dollhouse Marketing. And on today's show, we're going to do another marketing magic episode. And I know you guys love them, so I made sure to pull stories that you may have missed while you're scrolling on social media. And we're going to deep dive into those marketing topics and talk about how it relates back to things like culture, things you may know about, and innovations in the industry. So on today's show, we're going to talk about when childhood classics become streaming powerhouses, from pins to reality, Pinterest's new commerce play, when beauty meets messaging, Fenty's WhatsApp innovation, and cultural power in the age of AI, Malik Afebua blueprint. So grab your coffee and let's chat. I'm not going to lie to you. I did struggle with that last one because I was like, I want to make sure I pronounce his name correctly because I got low-key dragged. On TikTok because I mispronounced a designer's name. I tried my very best. French is not my first language. I do understand a little bit of conversational French, but that's a topic for another day. But understanding, I'm doing better. I try my best to get the phonetic pronunciation of a name as much as possible. Okay, let's talk about our first story, when childhood classics become streaming powerhouses. And if you see me looking down at my screen, it's because I bring notes to the conversation. So I got this from the Hollywood Reporter, and Sony is ordering 24 episodes of Reading Rainbow reboot as a classic kids show to find new life. And that's a story that I pulled the information from. And just to give you a background story, so Reading Rainbow, imagine this for those of you who are Gen Z or younger, but Reading Rainbow was a really, really popular show when I was growing up. I think LeVar Burton was the host at the time, but he would pop up on our timelines after we had school or like playtime in kindergarten, and he would read us books on TV. This sounds like an interesting concept, but originally he was like the OG Miss Rachel, essentially. And we would read books about things like friendship and how to play and like, diversity and inclusion before it became a word we don't want to say out loud. Essentially, the show was a way of bringing people together and also fostered the love of reading. The show has been off for a number of years, but has essentially found new life with this new reboot that was tested ahead of time before it got ordered by Sony to do an additional 24 episodes. So to pull an excerpt from the source, the classic PBS show, that's what channel it was on. It was on PBS because I remember I had cable. I have cable, and that was back in the day when you could not have cable and be fine because there was enough on regular TV to keep you entertained. Like ABC was in its bag. We had like TGF Fridays, we had all those things going on. And you really didn't need cable except to watch the Disney Channel. And then you had one Saturday morning. So did you really need the Disney Channel to watch the stuff that was on one Saturday morning? No, because it was on ABC. But anyway, I digress. The classic PBS children's show, Reading Rainbow, is officially back with the series securing a 24-episode pickup. Michael Threets, known as Michael the Librarian, I love him. He's so adorable on social media, will return as host with Sesame Street and Miss Rachel veteran Kristen McGregor joining the show as executive producer and showrunner. The show was revived last year with 4 digital episodes, 20 years, my God, on to date, 20 years. Yeah, that tracks. That carry the one. Yeah, that tracks. After the original incarnation hosted by LeVar Burton signed off the air as a series for the Sony-owned YouTube channel Kuzuko, that's an interesting name, garnered some 4.8 million views. And if you're thinking, okay, so if they did these test episodes, why did they have to wait for Sony to greenlight it? Essentially what they were doing was seeing, is there an audience for this show? Are there people still interested in this type of content? And so what shows do sometimes, or networks do, they test it out by having a limited run of a series. It may be called like a limited series or just like a test or pilot concept. If it works based on the views, based on the media pickup, based on how people are responding to it on social, then it gets considered for a full season, and that way is greenlit to have full-scale production. So let's get into those marketing takeaways. Let's first talk about nostalgia as a scalable IP strategy. And IP means intellectual property for those of you who don't know. So by reviving Reading Rainbow, it shows how nostalgia can function as modern growth engine. It reduces audience acquisition costs and creates instant cross-platform stickiness when paired with streaming distribution. And as you know right now, streaming is king in these streets. You have a lot of popular shows like Hulu's Paradise, you have Netflix Bridgerton, you have all these shows that are driving traffic to the streaming platforms. You also have smaller platforms like Roku creating original content and even Tubi creating content as well. Streaming has really shifted the way that we view television in this space and era. And then combined with things like, the nostalgia of Reading Rainbow, people like myself who are millennials who are now having their own kids or their own family, it's something that's familiar to us. It's something that we don't have to feel too, worry about having our kids or nieces and nephews watch, because we know the concept of the show. We know that it's going to foster conversations and interest in reading, especially considering now that things like tablets, technology has really taken over the learning aspect of how kids divulge information. Going back to this kind of old school way of just having something simple like reading a book with a trusted figure, in this case Michael the librarian, is a very smart move by Sony and the rest of this team that's creating this content. And getting a bit more into that, going to our second takeaway, creator-led castings as trust currency. Choosing Michael Threats, or as I like to call him and everyone on social likes to call him, Michael the librarian, gives it that authentic social credibility. He is a real-life librarian whose passion is about amplifying awareness of the importance of libraries in the terms of public resources for education. And this reflects a shift towards mission-aligned creators over traditional celebrity casting that strengthens audience trust and brand integrity. Michael's not just going to come on here and just run his mouth. He has an educational background in this space. So he'll not only be someone who will be a great host, but also someone who could be a great contributor to the type of content that's placed on this platform. And then let's move forward to public media and corporate partnerships as a new revenue model. This deal demonstrates darn braces, my lord, on today. This deal demonstrates how legacy public institutions can monetize beloved IP through strategic partnerships, creating sustainable funding pathways without compromising educational values. It is no secret that PBS is under fire right now because of over there. But PBS, for millennials, for people like, Gen X, people like who grew up with the PBS as a foundational educational tool for us, it was so important in our growing up. We not only had Reading Rainbow, we had Zaboomafoo, I believe we had Barney, we had so many different shows that focus on education and fostering growth within our own personal knowledge and teach us how to be just good people in this world. PBS as a resource has been under attack, and it's really sad to see that kind of programming start to either be shifted away or just taken away in general. By having Reading Rainbow rebooted, this gives a chance for a whole new generation to experience a little bit of what we had as children and bring that magic back to television. And then one little bonus marketing takeaway that I don't have in my notes but just came to the top of my mind. It will also be great to see how they'll monetize this on a bigger platform. So, for example, you have, Gracie's Corner. Gracie's Corner has really amplify what it means to teach through music and things like that in recent years. Gracie's Corner also goes on tour. She be going on full-scale tours, Beyonce level fandom kind of thing in that space. I would love to see this new Reading Rainbow reboot take that strategy to talk about how to engage with their in-person audiences. I would love to see a book tour in libraries across the country. I would love to see book drives and partnerships with Scholastic for book fairs and things like that, with appearances by Michael, to have those kind of things that allow for people to engage with Michael in real time. I would love to see those kind of pop-ups, Reading Rainbow pop-ups, all over the country and all over the world. And I also love to see merchandise come from this. Book partnerships in which there's special releases of children's books solely through the Reading Rainbow platform. There's so much that they can do with this new initiative, and I hope they carry the torch forward in a smart way, because we really need this kind of platforms right now to make sure that kids and younger, the next generation of children have something positive to look up to in these digital and social spaces. Okay, up next, let's talk about From Pins to Reality, Pinterest's new commerce play. And I got this from Pinterest, the actual platform. They are talking about their new shoppable series that brings Pinterest boards to life. That's a very interesting concept. And you know what? Before we get into our marketing takeaways, can we please give some respect to Pinterest? Because Pinterest, as one of the OG girlies of the social media space, she held it down. She held it down. Because while everybody was like changing and like trying to, imitate other platforms and, messing up their algorithms, Instagram, I'm looking at you. But messing up their algorithms for the sake of ads and things like that, and, content that is not content we want to see, but content that y'all want us to see. Pinterest was like, I'm going to stay cute over here, and I'm going to drink my water, and I'm mind my business, and I'm going to eat my food. And Pinterest has really leaned into the fact that they are a platform that serves as inspiration, but for people who are looking for things to, create like mood boards to for decorations, vacations, etc. And Pinterest also is one of those platforms of people who are serious buyers, because by the time you get to that Pinterest stage and you're looking for that inspo, you are also looking to buy. It almost is like another layer in the marketing funnel that I don't think we consider enough, is that social space of, social media driving that traffic. I think Pinterest is one of those platforms that's not used enough to talk about how it drives traffic to these landing pages or websites for people to purchase a product. So let's get into the excerpt from the source. The Bring My Pinterest to Life turns boards from Pinterest users into real-life transformations that includes rooms, wardrobes, personal style, gathering spaces, and small businesses. And then showcases these stories on Pinterest through curated episode boards, inspiring others to try and shop the ideas for themselves. Each of the 6 episodes places Pinterest users in the spotlight. It's letting them collaborate with creator hosts to define their personal style, learn do-it-yourself skills, and bring their unique ideas to life. Viewers will be able to do more than just watch, because each episode comes with a QR code. That's the, if you don't know, QR code is the little square box that you see at like restaurants or like an event flyer or something like that. You hold your camera up and the camera catches the code and it takes you to a landing page or some kind of event registration page to learn more. The codes leading to Pinterest boards filled with shoppable products, DIY, do-it-yourself instructions, and inspirational images from the show. So let's get into those marketing takeaways. Let's first talk about turning inspiration platforms into commerce engines. And I talked a little bit about this before, but let's dive a little deeper into it. Pinterest is collapsing the gap between discovery and action. Essentially, that marketing funnel I was talking about, positioning itself as a full funnel platform where inspiration directly converts into real world purchases and experiences. Because we all know what it's like. You discover something either through an ad, because they do have shoppable ads at the top when you like Google search something, or ads that you see on social media. But you discover something, you click on it, you look at it, you add to cart, and then you abandon cart, right? And essentially what Pinterest does is it helps to drive those actual purchases so you can make that decision from click through cart to purchase. And what I love about Pinterest is instead of like just trying to sell you things all the time like some of these other platforms have been doing, they allow for you to build your own inspiration and make that decision yourself. In our second takeaway, let's talk about personalization as a new luxury. The feature taps into the desire for hyper-personalized curation, a premium experience that aligns with the rise of bespoke shopping, AI stylists, and mood board-driven retail. As you know, when you're planning something like a vacation or like, purchasing like a new home or decorating in general, you have to come up with like a look. You have to come up with like a voice, like a theme that you want to do. And Pinterest allows for you to organize those ideas from various platforms, from other creators, so you can have something that makes sense to then bring it to like a designer or a stylist or someone's going to help you bring that vision to life. And in our final marketing takeaway, let's talk about community-driven creativity as a growth lever. By encouraging users to bring their boards to life and share the results, Pinterest transforms their personal creativity into organic marketing and platform-wide engagement. This is also very smart because Pinterest is diving into what is very popular on social right now, having owned content. Having this owned content will allow for them to further amplify the marketing in a smart and strategic way by partnering with creators, by allowing for fans of the platform to come on and bring their boards to life. It is then creating buzz, and then you can take the creators themselves and further amplify the show through their platforms, or you can also take this concept and expand on it. You can have Pinterest, like maybe the wedding series. You got Pinterest, the home decor series, Pinterest, the back to school or college series. There's different ways that they could spin on this to further grow it. And what I love is they're bringing it in a way that's attainable to a broad audience, but at the same time, Pinterest is still owning their voice, they're owning their brand, and they're furthering, amplifying their position as a social media OG in this space. In our next story, let's talk about when beauty meets messaging, Fenty's WhatsApp innovation. I got this from Afrotech, and the story talks about Fenty Beauty partnering with WhatsApp to launch conversational AI-powered beauty advisor. To pull an excerpt from the source, through its new partnership with WhatsApp, Glossy reports that it rolled out an AI-powered beauty advisor called Rose Amber on the messaging app. In pulling a quote from Nanette Wong, who's the Global Vice President of Marketing and Communications at Fenty, she states, "We've always wanted to partner with Meta more deeply. WhatsApp is so widely used all over the world, and our community and accessibility are important to us. So we're always thinking of new ways to connect with them. Customers can chat with Rose Amber for personalized product recommendations, tutorials, and reviews. Creative videos and customer reviews will accompany Rose Amber's feedback. In addition to this, the collaboration with WhatsApp also extends to Rihanna's broader portfolio. That includes Fenty Skin, Fenty Hair. So to pull those marketing takeaways, let's first talk about conversational commerce is becoming the new storefront. Fenty's AI advisor inside of WhatsApp reflects the future of beauty of retail. Shopping that happens inside chat apps, reducing friction and meeting consumers where they already are spending time. They are on trend right now because AI is showing up everywhere. It's showing up in how we work. It's showing up how we engage. It's shown up in various social platforms. It's shown up as influencers now. So yes, it does make sense for the Fenty Beauty team and Fenty as a whole portfolio to take advantage of what this actually means. By pulling it into WhatsApp, they are also smart as well. WhatsApp is a global platform. WhatsApp is known for, being able to text people, call. It's essentially an all-in-one tool that people use in international spaces. And also, U.S. people do use to connect with those from across, the world, or even when they're traveling. By doing it with WhatsApp, that makes sense because they're able to broaden their reach. They just didn't launch this in the Apple Store through an app. They launched it through a platform that's already on someone's phone, right? People don't have to go and download something new. They're already using what exists and then integrating it into this actual platform. Let's talk about that second marketing takeaway. Inclusive shade matching as competitive tool. So the AI tool serves as a real barrier for diverse consumers, shade matching. It reinforces Fenty's brand promise of inclusivity while scaling personalization service globally. And we know when Fenty first launched the Fenty Beauty line, it shook up the beauty industry because their shades had various tones that went from very, very light to very, very, very deep hues. And the cool thing about this is Fenty is continuing to build on that. They know that their consumers aren't just coming into the store. Going to this tool will allow for them to connect and find out what they're looking for through this AI-powered software. And that final marketing takeaway, let's talk about first mover advantage in messaging-based AI. By entering the WhatsApp commerce ecosystem early, Fenty gains access to data and behavioral insights competitors won't have for years, strengthening its leadership in AI-driven beauty. And that is very important because the data does tell the story. The data tells you what products your customers are interested in. The data tells you what products are not selling well, what they may be wanting in terms of feedback, where that drop-off is in terms of consumer buying, the heat map. And the heat map is basically when you go on a website, it notes where people are clicking, right? The heat map tells you, okay, they're not paying attention to the hero image, but they're paying attention to the side image down here or this copy or whatever. It tells you essentially what is driving that engagement on the page. And if it's not driving to the place that you want them to go, how to reconfigure the UX or user experience to put them where you want them to, what you want them to do and what products you want to drive for their awareness. And then finally, as I mentioned before, AI is going to be a tool that we see in our everyday. It's something that we can't get away from. So you might as well build a tool in a space that makes sense to further drive business. And businesses who don't want to lean into the future often get left in the past. And we've seen it many times with businesses who refuse to adapt to having a website, who refuse to adapt to social media, who just refuse because they thought that they were so recession proof or innovation proof that they would always have an audience. They will always be able to drive their customers to them. And we've seen that model fail. We've seen that model fail with very popular department stores. We've seen that model fail with very popular brands. We've seen that model fail numerous times. But we've seen those who have really leaned into innovation in a way that makes sense for them, in a way that makes sense for their business, continue to thrive and survive in new spaces that are being created basically every day. In our final story, let's talk about cultural power in the age of AI. Malik Afebu, I'm going to try my best, but I'm not going to get it perfect all the time. Blueprint. I got this from CNN, and it talks about how the AI artist wants African heritage to live forever. So, Malik has launched Legacy Link, a project that hopes to not just preserve the experiences and lives of elders in the continent, but make them live forever, as he says. He has been interviewing elders about their lives, recording their stories, capturing their videos, and making 3D scans. That's low-key dope. Of their family heirlooms, like masks and drums. With this data, he hopes to make digital twins of the elders and present them as holographic displays in public areas, like airports where people can speak with them, using AI, again, we're seeing AI as a trend here, to bring their responses to life. The final displays will feel like someone is standing in front of you, having a conversation with you. Users will be able to ask the digital elders questions about their lives and experiences, with AI generating a response based on the interviews with that person. So let's get into those marketing takeaways. Let's first talk about how cultural authenticity as a differentiator in AI. His work stands out because it is rooted in lived experience and cultural specificity. My God, on today, these braces are getting on my nerves. I know I had to get them tightened yesterday, but I am very annoyed. Sorry. Low-key rant. Specificity. Ugh. I can't wait till I get these things taken off. I'm hoping that is this year's sidebar, but here we are. That proves authenticity, not aesthetics alone, and the competitive advantage of AI-driven art. And as we see, how can I put this nicely? As we see cultural spaces getting under attack by this new administration, over here, put them over here. As we see them being put under attack, the African American Museum, different scholarships or businesses that are focused on, Black and people of color, thriving in those spaces, on capturing and maintaining our history. As we see that try to be under attack as much as they wanted to see go away, things like this are very important. It's so important to make sure that we're showing the real stories of who we are and not the stories that they want to tell of us. For example, recently, and I'm going on a sidebar, but I promise you it's going to come back together. Recently, the space launch that happened, was it Artemis 2, that recently launched in space, driven by a Black pilot, but they made their farthest journey in which humans have ever gone before around the moon, right? Big deal. But one of the things that was also important in the space exploration was how they captured the story. They made sure that they were telling a story about the pilot who is making Black history. They also made sure to capture very important images of Earth. And one of the images is making big circulation right now is how big the continent of Africa actually is. Because it has been noted in history and historical documents that they have minimized the size of Africa on these cartographs maps to make Africa seem smaller and make spaces that are more white dominant, like Europe, seem bigger. But in reality, Africa is the largest continent that exists. And noting that in the visual images of a picture that is high definition, you cannot deny the truth. And I'm getting back to the point in saying that things like this allow for us to control the narrative of our story, allow for them to not deny the truth about who we really are and our contributions to society, about our African heritage, that, we were and still are a people who have driven innovation in the sciences, in technology, in ancient history, in civilizations, in fashion, in art. Like, we are someone who are a brilliant group of people, but that has been diluted and diverted to meet the needs of a centered white audience who wants to feel superior, to make it seem like they're the innovators and they are the established cultural civilization that has helped us move forward, when essentially they were learning from us the entire time. And that goes into my second marketing takeaway, which I kind of dove into it already, but here we are. AI as a tool for reclamation of narrative power. By depicting African elders as regal, futuristic, and powerful, he challenges outdated global perception and replaces them with imagery that feels self-defined, aspirational, and culturally grounded. There's a reason why things like Wakanda, the movie Black Panther, but the whole Wakanda Forever resonated so much with Black and global audiences. It allowed for us to see us in a space we already knew existed, but was diluted by a different narrative. And by having this AI powered tool, by having the ability to see us on, what I imagine are huge digital screens in which we're almost overtaken by the power of the presence of our ancestors, allows for people to reshape the narrative of what they think Black culture and African culture actually stands for. And I'm really excited to see how this is going to pan out. I also hope to see an integration of this tool in our bigger culture museums, like the Black History Museum here in the DC area, in other museums in the South and abroad, in almost like a touring exhibit that allows for people to experience the massiveness and the impact of this storytelling. I would also like to see an integration of this tool in the new National Geographic Museum that's set to open in June. I got to get tickets for that because I really want to see that. But that museum is known for embracing technology and, doing a lot of innovation in how it displays history. To have that as a special exhibit will be so dope, and also will broaden the scope of people's mind of what they think in terms of African culture and who we are in a space that's already recognizable with the brand of National Geographic. In our final marketing takeaway, let's talk about the rise of the AI native artist economy. Malik represents a new creative class where artists treat AI as a medium, not a shortcut, signaling a shift in how brands will source creative talent and cultural storytelling. There's a lot of backlash right now about AI being used to create images and graphic design, X, Y, and Z. But as mentioned in the marketing takeaway, if you have artists who are using it as a medium tool, it can really broaden the scope of what we think art can look like. For example, when you had Pollock, who, if you don't know, he's known for his paintbrush style in which he kind of flings the paint on the canvas, and it seems like in a chaotic way, but there's a strategy to it. You have people like Jason Pollock. You have people like George Seurat, who painted the first pointillism painting, La Grande Jetée. It's a painting of the Seine River in Paris, and it's actually broken into two pieces. One side shows the upper class, and the other side shows the working class. And I wrote a whole paper about this for my senior thesis when I was in college, so I kind of know stuff. And it really changed the way people thought about art. Same thing with Impressionism. You had the Monets, the Manets, the people like that, who were innovators in the space. At the time, it did not exist. The point I'm making is AI right now is a new tool, but AI in art as a medium doesn't really exist right now. People are generating images, but are they generating images that are actually created or being created for them? And what Malik can do is be an innovator in this space and create a whole new artist movement in which AI is controlled as a tool instead of a tool that's controlling what creativity looks like to a broader audience. Okay, I hope you enjoyed today's chat. Don't forget to follow Coffee with Yvonne on Instagram and Threads at Coffee with Yvonne. You can also find me on my personal account on Instagram and TikTok, aka the Clock app. That's why I be cutting up, showing up as my regular, schmegular, everyday self at Yvonne_creative marketer. To learn more about me and my business that I own, I need to do my taxes, by the way, because they due on Monday, ain't they? I need to get on that. But you can learn more about my business by going to pink.housemarketing.com, or you can go to my Instagram at pink.housemarketing. You can slide into my DMs. That's cool. And creators, I'm going to keep saying this every single week until you get it. Don't forget to keep showing up, keep creating, and that your voice matters. I cannot wait to chat with you on another episode of Coffee with Yvonne. Okay, bye! It needs more creamer. Coffee with Yvonne is produced and edited by Yvonne Pearson. Coffee with Yvonne is created by Pink Dollhouse Marketing. You can catch the latest episodes by subscribing to Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.